argue in this case very much understand Jesus is calling himself the Messiah. Jesus is saying that he is God in the flesh. They end up killing him a couple days later for the exact same quote crime. Jesus entered Jerusalem as a king on a donkey, a humble king on a donkey, as prophesied in Zechariah chapter 9 and verse 9. So they very much understand Jesus is claiming to be God in the flesh. There's no misunderstanding that. They very clearly understand this man in front of us is literally claiming to be God. They know that. So when Jesus asks the question, what do the scribes teach about how Christ is the son of David? Jesus is forcing the controversy. For those people who say that Jesus never crushed anybody, he's doing it out in the open. He knows that this scribe just tested him. And up to this point, Jesus hadn't gone against the scribes at the temple. He had gone against the Sadducees. He had spoken regarding the Pharisees and the Herodians, but he had not really said anything about to the scribes. The scribes are the ones that kind of hung back to see what was going on. They were the ones that lay in wait to see if they could build a snare to trap him. So then when they sprung their trap, he resisted because no one else is going to ask him any other questions. Why would no one ask Jesus a question in verse 34 after that? No one wanted to ask Jesus a question because everyone understood that Jesus was claiming to be God. And he just overcame everybody. Like he just proved to everybody in front of everybody that they're all wrong and he's right. So then Jesus goes, how say the scribes that Christ is the son of David? Jesus knows exactly obviously, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's laying the trap. The trap is in the question. Where does the Oklahoma Constitution grant you authority to pry into life and liberty without the swearing of harm? That's a damning question. Because I know you can't. And I know the Oklahoma Constitution doesn't grant it. So whenever there's actions that are started without any swearing of harm, we all know very well the Constitution prohibits that stuff. Whenever we ask, where does the Constitution grant authority, or where does the Constitution obligate people to file information regarding their property? Where's the constitutional obligation binding people to file a 1040? You understand how powerful that question is? You understand what you do when you ask those types of questions? You force the recipient to either put up or shut up. You force whoever you're talking to answer the question or keep their mouth shut. So whenever Jesus asks the question, he goes, hey, how say the scribes that Christ is the son of David? Notice he then supplies the law. He then supplies the text. He says, for David himself, right? That's one of my favorite tactics is to literally wait for them to say something and then say, by your own words, you said this. Like, in your own words, you said this.